at 3FM 92.7. Keep sharing your thoughts, your opinions, your suggestions, even your questions. Do keep them coming. If you have an MTN line, pick it up right now. Star 439 hash. Pick option 1 for 3FM. Let's give you some Nuka Fuel to line your back pocket this morning. We'll do that before we sign off. Star 439 hash. If you don't play, you don't win.
Your health is your wealth. Hey, hey.
3FM Sunrise.
Your health is your wealth. No one can deny. It keeps you alive.
And your health is certainly your wealth. And somebody who can give us more education on that is Dr. Daisy Sowa. She's in the studio this morning. Doc, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning.
How are we doing, Doc?
Lovely, lovely. I hope everyone is having a great day today.
Well, the day only just started. Let's see what happens. If we can keep healthy from kinkring to kankring, and then we'll have a good report, a glowing report for Doc. But Dr. Daisy Sowa is a senior house officer, Princess Marie Louise Children's Hospital. So are you what we call a pediatrician?
I am not a pediatrician. I'm a general doctor.
Sure.
I do work with a lot of them, but I'm not there yet.
Okay, I see. What are the young ones afflicted with these days? What are they presenting with quite commonly?
Okay, so now since the rainy season, it's malaria, as you expect.
Oh, I
Malaria
see.
has skyrocketed. A lot of them come with the average cough and cold and the gastroenteritis, you're vomiting, diarrhea. Those are the basic things we see on a day-to-day.
Okay, like you said, the rainy season breeds a lot of insects and mosquitoes.
Yeah.
Well, for most parents, actually, they just take one look at their ward and they think, this one is malaria, this one is typhoid, this one, dear, back pain, this one, dear, leg pain. And that's the basis of our conversation this morning, self-medication. Would you agree that as Ghanaians, we self-medicate a lot?
I don't have to agree. Studies have shown that, in fact, 53% of Ghanaians self-medicate.
53% of
Yes.
more than half of the
More than half of
population,
us.
they take their health into their own hands, diagnose their own problem, and give their own medication. Why is this dangerous?
So, self-medication is a big problem because, first of all, you take your own medication, which could be a variety of things. Some of these medications, like paracetamol, which would bring down your temperature or bring down your pain, could mask other symptoms that we are looking for. So you take the medication, you think everything is fine, a couple of days pass, you're still feeling unwell. So there's a delay in seeking healthcare. You come to the hospital, and by the time you come, what you thought was just a little something has turned into something else, and then you have to be hospitalized, more money is spent. There's so many issues that go behind this. But I always like to say, before we just criticize the self-medication, we need to understand where it's coming from.
That's right.
So culturally, Ghanaians as a people, we don't really have very good health-seeking behavior. It's always, something is bothering you, and then we wait until we are actually debilitated. We cannot go to work or we cannot function anymore before we finally seek healthcare. People also seek a lot of self-medication because they believe it's cheaper.
That's right.
And you can understand, based on our current economic situation, you can see where everybody is coming from.
That's right.
You go to a hospital, you have labs to do, you have scans to do, and you think that buying these few medicines from the pharmacy would make it better, but you realize that it's not. In the long run, it's actually more expensive because you spend money in the pharmacy and then you come and spend money in the hospital, more than you originally would have. Another reason is you also have to look at the health policies in our society right now. I'll give you an example. This weekend, I was working the night shift.
Right.
Meaning work starts from 8 p.m., ends at 8 a.m. So I go at 8 p.m. and I'm expecting to run emergencies only. But I am seeing a woman in the OPD who has been there since 10 a.m. Incredibly long waiting times in our public institutions. So you could be waiting an average of 5-6 hours, sometimes as long as 12 hours to see a doctor for a cough or a cold. So if you would imagine that this is a market woman whose entire livelihood, her day to day, depends on the sales she makes every day. She would rather just buy medicines from the pharmacy.
That's right.
Yes, keep her children by her side. Make, even if it's 30 cedis she's making that day, that money is going to feed them for the entire day, a family of 5. So you can understand where the self-medication comes from.
So it's a cocktail of issues.
Yes.
The timeliness of even being able to see your doctor, the perceived costs involved in seeking proper treatment, this idea that, oh, let me just go and buy some 1 or 2 from the pharmacy. Maybe a relative had the same symptoms. You know, that happens a lot. You say, oh, what are your symptoms? Oh, X, Y, Z. So, oh, I have the same thing. So anyway, dear. Typhoid, malaria, and that happens a lot. In fact, not to put my father on blast, but he can just come and just look at your eyelids, pull one down, pull one, this one, dear, malaria. Even before you've finished, listing your symptoms, oh, this one, dear, start treatment for malaria. That happens a lot. But let's talk about the consequences. One of which you mentioned is that you could be subduing, maybe masking symptoms to the detriment of what is really going on, because you're not allowing those symptoms to fully present. With things like antibiotics, I know that's another thing that I'll use the word abuse a lot of. I've seen people pop antibiotics like it's chewing gum. They say, oh, this is preventative. Is there something like that?
So for antibiotics, whenever people come, I would say I see 30 kids in a day. I would say at least half of them have taken antibiotics before they come, which is a really, really big number. So I always ask the parents, why are you taking this? Why did you give your child this antibiotic? And the most common one is amoxiclav. Amoxiclav, I think we all know that antibiotic. Poor baby has been abused all over the entire country. And you ask them why, and they don't really understand why. Oh, they say my child had a cough and a cold. But why? Because most coughs and colds are viral. So your antibiotics, which is against bacteria, it's not doing anything for it. You are wasting your money, you are wasting your time, you are contributing to antibiotic resistance. So with antibiotics, again, we can go back and look at the policies that govern it. And we can admit that for a developing country, our governing bodies are not as robust as other countries.
And that is a big thing. And again, it's some 10 minutes to the top of the hour, 10 a.m. We're still live here on 3FM Sunrise, on 3FM 92.7. A few people saying hello to Doc. Those of you watching us on a Facebook Live, hello, keep watching, keep connecting with us. A number of questions have come through. We're definitely going to do this as a part 2, but Doc, do continue, and then we'll shelve some of our questions for a later date. But let's continue setting the foundation, if you will.
Okay, so I was speaking about our governing bodies.
Yes.
Because technically, you cannot buy antibiotics over the counter. You're not supposed to.
Okay.
If you go to other countries, if you go to the US or UK, you cannot.
That is right. You need a prescription from a doctor.
Always need a prescription for a doctor. But here we have a little bit more leeway. Our pharmacists, the doctors of pharmacy, have a bit of leeway to, prescribe some medication on their discretion. But how many pharmacies would you go to that have the doctors of pharmacy there? You have the medical counter assistants and the chemists. Those are the majority of our pharmacies.
That's right.
And I always say this, and people, get this funny look on their faces, but healthcare is a business. It's not charity work, unfortunately. Right. And many of our pharmacies are independent entities. They need to make a quota at the end of the week. So they will sell it to you because it's money. So whenever you go to a pharmacy, people always come back with 4 or 5 different medications. And truly, when you look at it, it's only 2 they need. But it's a business, and the business must flourish. So that's where a bit of the problem with antibiotics come into it.
I heard you mention antibiotic resistance. Yes. What does that mean?
Okay, so how to put this simply? So bacteria, viruses, all tiny organisms are living. They are not dead. They are not static. Just like how human beings grow, evolve, and learn, they also do the same. And assuming you had a group of human beings that was constantly being attacked by this one thing, let's say this one group of people was constantly attacking them, over time, they would learn how to defend themselves. Especially if this one group of people was using the same approach, the same tactic to attack them. They were always coming from this same corner using the same machine to attack them. Eventually, you will learn. And that is how all the bacteria, viruses, that's how they learn. So over time, if you attack them with antibiotics and you don't attack them effectively, the ones that are left evolve, they grow. So sooner or later, they get resistant to the antibiotics that you are trying to kill them with, which is a global problem at this point, more so in developing countries.
Where everybody reaches first thing for antibiotics with or without the advice of their doctor. So if we were to use an analogy, say you have some soldiers and you are deploying them to any kind of war, a war that doesn't even concern you, a war that they're not needed, and they're constantly going with their armory and their machinery and their weaponry. After time, those machines, weaponry, whatever it is, it wouldn't be as effective. And then you'll have a real war. You'll try and deploy said soldiers, but now the equipment is faulty, it's lacking, and you can't go to war effectively. What advice then do you give for people who have been doing this their whole lives, buying their own medication over the counter, to just stop and seek the good medical advice from their doctors, or should they be maybe looking out for maybe lower dose antibiotics? What is the advice?
So there's a difference between first aid. You have, a bit of a headache, you have a cough, you have a cold, you buy cough syrup or you buy paracetamol to just, bring it down, and actually self-medicating. With first aid, you take a bit of medications over the counter with, the idea that later I'm going to seek medical attention. So I'm just holding myself down for a little bit. So with self-medication, we are not saying, completely nobody should buy any cough syrup from the pharmacy or any paracetamol. No, we are not saying that. But we are saying if you have a fever, which is your body's response to something going on, at the very least in this part of the world, the first thing you should do is to do the malaria test, the rapid one. That's what is there for. If you go to one pharmacy and they don't have it, go to the next.
Because they are quite inexpensive.
It's
5 cedis. You get a prick, there's a test kit, they'll tell you if you've got malaria or not. Simple.
That's it. That's the whole point of it, is to reduce the burden of healthcare in this part of the world, because malaria is a third of what we see. So if you get the prick, you check it's malaria, you take your anti-malarials, you're fine. You don't need a prescription for that. But why should you start antibiotics or anti-malarials for a fever when you don't know what it is? You are just grasping at straws and throwing things at a problem that you don't exactly know what it is. So if you have any symptoms, they are persistent, try to seek help early.
Very important. Well, as I said to Doc, we'll be tabling part 2 because this conversation is very important. I do see your questions coming through on Facebook. So many questions here. I've thrown some Doc's way. Some of you are asking, well, what are the repercussions of doing this? And you also echoing the same sentiments. The queues are long. I don't have time. I need to go and work. But of course, you have to also be healthy. If you take medication and in the short term, you're all right, but long term, you're going to be significantly more unwell, then that's going to be problematic. But Dr. Daisy Sowa was with us here in the studio. This is part 1 of the conversation. There's a lot that Doc wants to share with us. We'll table part 2 for a future date. But I think today we've gotten some good education here that you could be doing more harm than good reaching for over-the-counter medication. So this morning, if you've got a headache, whatever the case may be, Doc says reach out for your first aid kit, but leave the big stuff to those they've been in school for many years. It's not for a long time. And they're here to give you some good education and advice. So let's listen to medical practitioners and healthcare experts this morning. That's my task for you today. But Doc, again, thank you for your time. And like I said, part 2 coming soon.
Your health is your wealth.
Free FM Sunrise.
It keeps you alive.
Free FM Sunrise.